Okay, let me describe somebody, and you tell me if you've met them, maybe in the mirror. This is a person who has never actually struggled to make friends. People like them, honestly, they get invited to things. They're the one who remembers your birthday and asks the good follow-up question. On paper, by every measure that's supposed to count, they're doing just fine, socially. And yet, there's this thing they almost never say out loud, because honestly, it sounds kind of ungrateful. They can be in a warm room, full of people who genuinely care about them, and still feel like they're watching the whole thing through a window, close enough to see everyone's faces, never quite able to reach the glass. And most of them, I promise you, have quietly decided this is some flaw in them, some broken little part, some social setting everybody else got installed at birth that they somehow just missed. But here's what's really going on up here, and trust me, I've got a front row seat to a very busy brain. That feeling is data, real, useful data, and you've been misreading it for years. So if any of this is landing a little too hard right now, good. So just stick around, friend. This one's for you. For here's where we're headed. You and me, we're going to figure out where this whole alone in a full room thing actually comes from. And spoiler, it usually starts way earlier than you'd ever guess. We'll look at what your brain is genuinely doing when it just can't seem to feel met, even by people you love. And then the part I actually care about most, we'll get into why this is not the evidence against you that you've been treating it as for basically your whole life. Because I think you've been reading the signal completely backwards, friend. So let's open up the hood. First thing we have to do is clear up what loneliness even is, because almost everybody gets this one wrong, me included for most of my potato life. Loneliness has almost nothing to do with how many people happen to be physically near you. The folks who study this describe it as a gap, the quiet distance between the connection you actually want and the connection you actually feel, which is kind of wild when you sit with it. Think of it almost like a radio. You know, you can be picking up plenty of stations, loud and crisp and clear, and still not catch the one song you'd actually want to sing along to. It means you can be at a packed party, surrounded, laughing along, and still be lonelier than someone sitting alone on a quiet Tuesday who feels completely understood by one good friend on the phone. So the size of the room is kind of beside the point. What actually matters is whether anyone in it is tuned to your frequency. And here's a cool little twist with crowds specifically. A big, loud room sort of works like a magnifying glass on all of this. Everyone around you looks like they're connecting so easily, so effortlessly, that your own quiet sense of distance just feels even louder by comparison. So you end up doing the loneliest math there is, standing right in the middle of a party, silently counting up all the little ways you don't quite fit. And here's a second piece that explains an awful lot. Some brains are just wired to crave depth. Psychologists even have a name for it. Need for cognition, and basically it means certain people get a real kick out of chewing on big, effortful ideas. For a brain built like that, small talk doesn't land as relaxing, it kind of just lands as thin. And look, I want to be clear, this isn't you deciding you're better than small talk. I love a good, how about this weather, as much as the next root vegetable. It's more that your brain keeps idling at a higher RPM, just waiting for somebody to finally shift into a gear that uses the whole engine when nobody does. It kind of sits there revving, a little restless, a little underfed. So when so crazy weather, makes something in you quietly sink, that's just a hungry brain being handed a single cracker. Your kitchen was built for a whole feast, you know, and the menu keeps offering snacks. And look, here's how it actually shows up in real life. You know the feeling. You're at some get-together, good people, decent food, nothing wrong with any of it. Really, you're laughing at the right moments, asking folks about their weekend, doing all the moves correctly, and somewhere around the 90-minute mark, a quiet voice in the back of your head just goes, okay, when can I go home? Not because you don't like them. You genuinely do. It's just that the whole night stayed about 3 inches deep, and you walked in there quietly, hoping somebody might go a little deeper with you tonight. Sound familiar? Yeah, I kind of figured. Now, where does this whole thing kind of start? Because it almost always starts somewhere pretty specific. Let me just take you back a bit. Picture a kid, 7, maybe 8 years old. This kid asks a lot of questions, not annoying ones. Well, okay, sometimes annoying ones, but real ones. Where does the universe actually end? Why do we have to be nice to people we don't even like? They use a word at the dinner table that's a little too big for the room, and somebody chuckles and goes, "Ooh, look at the professor over here." And honestly, it isn't cruel, exactly, but the kid clocks it, files it quietly away. Maybe later it was a teacher who sighed, maybe a friend group that went quiet for half a second too long. The specific moment always fades. The lesson never quite does. Then it happens a few more times. They get lit up about something nobody else in the room cares about, and they watch the eyes glaze right over. They feel something way too big for the moment and hear that classic line, "Why are you being so dramatic?" There's a researcher named Dombrowski who described this whole thing kind of beautifully. This idea that some kids just come wired with what he called overexcitabilities. They don't only think more, they feel everything turned up louder too, and their inner world keeps racing way ahead of the actual room they happen to be standing in. And a little kid honestly can't name any of that. All they walk away with is one quiet, sinking lesson, written somewhere inside in permanent marker. Being fully me makes people pull back, so turn it down. And here's the part that gets me. They get really good at it. World class, honestly. They learn to dim. So let's actually just break down why the room stays empty, even when it's completely full. There are basically 3 things stacked right on top of each other here. Reason 1 is that frequency mismatch we just touched. A psychologist named Hollingworth, way back, spent years studying kids whose minds ran far out ahead of their classmates. And she noticed something a little sad. The further someone's thinking ran from the people around them, the harder it got for the two sides to really click. And it's really nobody's fault. By the way, connection just kind of needs overlap, a shared channel. And when your channel is unusual, fewer people happen to land on it. And the wild part is, the more interesting your inner world gets, the smaller the pool of folks who can fully follow you into it. It's this strange little tax on depth, you know. The richer the country, the fewer people who happen to speak the language. You simply meet fewer matches. That's just statistics. Honestly, it has nothing to do with your worth. Reason 2 is the dimming itself, and this one is sneaky as anything. Remember that kid who learned to turn the volume way down? They're a grown adult now, and they are still quietly doing it. In basically every conversation, there's a tiny translator running in the background, sanding off the strange edges, reaching for the safe, smaller version of what they actually wanted to say. You know the move. Someone asks what you've been up to, and you've got this whole big thought bubbling, something you actually find fascinating. And in real time, you just watch yourself shrink it down to, "Oh, not much, just work, safe, forgettable." Nobody's gonna look at you funny for not much, but honestly, nobody's gonna fall for it either, because you can't really feel met on a version of yourself you're busy hiding. Connection only forms on the real signal, and you keep carefully broadcasting the edited one. Reason 3, and look, this is the one that really gets me, is that a sharp brain makes one brutal prosecutor. When the loneliness shows up, this person doesn't shrug and think, weird little mismatch. Oh no. They open a full investigation. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just be normal like everybody else seems to be? A mind that's genuinely good at analyzing turns all that horsepower straight inward and builds an airtight case for why this must somehow be your fault. And you know what, you are a frighteningly convincing lawyer against yourself every single time. And honestly, that habit makes total sense once you see where it came from. A genuinely powerful tool, just pointed in a pretty unkind direction. Okay, deep breath. Let's put some of these pieces back together, because there are a couple of truths hiding underneath all of that, and they really do matter. The first one, here's what that loneliness was actually trying to tell you. Accurately. This whole time you just haven't found enough of your people yet. That, honestly, is the entire message. Your brain simply went and translated it into something way, way crueler. And haven't found them yet? is a wildly different thing from they don't exist. The signal itself was always honest with you. Your reading of it was the cruel part. The second truth, and honestly, this one took even me a good while to land. That very thing that isolates you a little, the depth, the intensity, the flat refusal to be satisfied by the surface of things, is the exact same thing that makes you someone worth genuinely knowing. The people who do land on your frequency, when you finally find them, they don't experience you as too much. They experience you as a kind of relief. And when it finally happens, it usually doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels a lot more like exhaling. Like, oh, there you are. I was honestly starting to think I'd made you up. So if you've spent years quietly assuming the whole problem was just you, I'd really love for you to set that down for a second, just for the length of this video. Honestly, give yourself the same benefit of the doubt you'd hand a good friend in a heartbeat. Now, I don't want to just skip right past the cost here, because it is real, and it absolutely deserves naming. Carrying this thing around for years is genuinely tiring. There's the steady exhaustion of translating yourself in nearly every single interaction. There's that low background hum of, maybe it really is just me, that quietly follows you into rooms. You start pre-screening every room before you even walk in, quietly scanning for whether there's anybody in here who might get the real you, and bracing a little when the answer comes back, feeling like no. That bracing is its own special kind of tired, by the way. And maybe the saddest one of all, a slow drift toward settling, toward deciding that fine is the only kind of connection life is ever going to put on your menu. A lot of people, eventually just stop looking. They decide the feast was some childhood fantasy and the crackers are simply what adulthood tastes like now. And I really, really don't want that one for you. So here's the reframe I genuinely want you to take with you when you go, you're not broken, you're just running rare software in a world that was mostly built for the standard install. And rare software was never going to click with every single machine in the room. It was only ever going to click with a few of them. And that's just the instruction manual that nobody ever actually handed you. For years, the fix looked like get more normal, so everyone finally connects with you. And honestly, that right there is the exact thing that's been slowly starving you. What you actually needed this whole time was a small handful of people on your own frequency, plus the nerve to finally show them the undimmed version, the real one, the one you've been hiding since you were about 8. And finding those few is genuinely a numbers game, which means it takes patience, and probably a few more rooms that don't fit before you walk into one that finally does. That part is annoying. I won't pretend it isn't, but it is so wildly different from the door being closed. So here's where I'll leave you, friend. If you saw yourself anywhere in this, and something tells me that you did, I just want you to do 2 small things for me before you go. First one, look, be a little gentler with the part of you that feels everything and notices the glass. It has been pulling overtime your entire life, mostly without a single thank you, just trying its best to keep you safe in rooms that never quite fit you right. It really did do its best with what it had. It has earned a little grace from you. Second one, send this over to the one person who popped into your head while I was talking just now. You already know exactly who I mean. The quiet, deep one who's also been a little lonely in full rooms and just never quite had the words for it. They might really need to hear that the feeling has a name and a reason behind it, and that their people are genuinely out there too, probably feeling the exact same way tonight. And then come tell me down in the comments. How old were you when you first felt alone in a crowd? I read every single one of them. Every last one, honestly. Stay curious. You brilliant Spud. I'm Spud, and I'll see you in the next one.